Peace everybody, back with another video. This is about R. Kelly accused of plotting to blackmail alleged victims, threatened to hurt their families. And of course, as you can see here in the screenshot is the disgraced singer R. Kelly. R. Kelly is being accused of intimidating his alleged victims with threatening handwritten letters, along with plotting to blackmail the women. So he's been accused of intimidating these alleged victims with threatening handwritten letters. And of course, there's plotting to blackmail the women. According to court documents obtained by The Blast, prosecutors recently laid out their case against Kelly being released on bond. The alleged child sex predator has been trying to get out for months. He argued he was not a flight risk and posed no threat if released. Well, that's a lie right there, because now he is a threat. And of course, they said, according to court documents obtained by The Blast, the prosecutors recently laid out their case against Kelly being released. And of course, R. Kelly is not getting out of prison anytime soon, because the longer he stays there, the more he won't go anywhere. The alleged child sex predator has been trying to get out for months. Well, he could try all he wants. He's not going anywhere. He also argued he was not a flight risk and posed no threat if released. Well, he already turned over his passport to the judge. So what does that tell you? He's at flight risk. And as for pose no threat if released, yeah, that's a lie. In court documents, prosecutors took issue with his claim and he posed no threat. They accuse him of having a history of trying to silence alleged victims. So R. Kelly is trying to silence the alleged victims. And of course, they're not going to keep quiet, because the women came out and told their story, because they was there and we were not. And it says, court documents, prosecutors took issue with his claim and he posed no threat. And of course, they accuse him of having a history of trying to silence alleged victims. So, R. Kelly thinks he's just going to get away with everything, but he's not going to get away with everything. They claim Kelly sent a typewritten letter to a lawyer then representing Jane Doe number 5, threatening to release compromising and potentially embarrassing photographs of Jane Doe number 5 if she pursued her civil lawsuit against the defendant. Now, R. Kelly is blackmailing Jane Doe number 5, to release embarrassing photographs. If he's going to do that, why don't he just do it and get it over with? Or let Jane Doe number 5 tell everything. She could tell all. She's not in jail. R. Kelly's in jail. And of course, if she pursued her civil lawsuit against the defendant, well, you know what? Jane Doe number 5 don't have to listen to R. Kelly. She could pursue the civil lawsuit all she wants, and there's nothing he could do about it while he's behind bars. Further, the letter sent, which was provided to the defense as part of the government's discovery, includes certain photographs and screenshots of text message exchanges between the defendant and Jane Doe number 5, taken from the defendant's phone. So there was text message exchange between R. Kelly and Jane Doe number 5. They were taken from the defendant's phone, of course, and the letter sent, which was provided to the defense as part of the government's discovery. So the government did discover this, includes certain photographs and screenshots of text messages. Prosecutors continued, the defendant cannot credibly deny his role in intimidating witnesses by claiming self-servingly that he could not have written the letter due to his allegedly limited reading and writing skills, where he provided the material used to make the threats and signed his name to the accompanying documents. So if R. Kelly can't really see too well, allegedly, then who else could have written them letters for him and sent them out? You got to think about it. R. Kelly is trying to be slick, and he's not that slick because he's really in a lot of trouble still. I mean, all these charges against him, plus there's now you got this on top of it and everything else. During their investigation, prosecutors spoke to multiple women who gave evidence that Kelly has a history of coaxing women to write letters containing false and embarrassing allegations so that the defendant could use those letters as blackmail. Multiple witnesses have reported that the defendant directed them to write these embarrassing and false letters, and the similarities among the counts by multiple witnesses lends credence to their accounts. So R. Kelly does have a habit of culturing women now to write letters containing false and embarrassing allegations. So now we gotta know which women are the ones that are doing it, allegedly, so that the defendant could use those letters as blackmail. So he wants to blackmail all these women for making false allegations. Sorry. Multiple witnesses have reported that the defendant indicated them to write these embarrassing and false letters and the similarities among the documents by multiple witnesses lends credence to their documents or accounts. I'm sorry. They have witnesses who claim Kelly issued veiled threats designed to prevent witnesses from testifying against him. Specifically, with respect to multiple women, he directed the women, prospective witnesses against him, to pick a side and strongly implied that choosing the wrong side, not not his side, would result in harm to them or their families. Well, first of all, who gives a damn what R. Kelly wants? Who gives a damn? R. Kelly cannot just force these women to pick a side. The women can choose their own side if they wish. They're not. R. Kelly has no right to tell them, "Oh, you better pick my side." Really? Come on. And now he's trying to keep them from testifying? I would have told R. Kelly to flip off. I'm testifying. And that's what these women need to do, is testify against him. Like I said, they were there, we were not. So these women are the ones that are being told to pick a side, really? Prosecutors also have records showing Kelly paid off a young woman who accused him of criminal behavior. They write, finally, the government has obtained records showing that, in at least one instance, a young woman reported to law enforcement criminal behavior by the defendant, and the defendant thereafter paid the woman hundreds of thousands of dollars to enter into a non-disclosure agreement, thereby deterring future cooperation with law enforcement. Evidence supporting this allegation consists of police records documenting criminal allegations and bank records documenting the ensuing payoff. So now R. Kelly paid off a young woman who accused him of criminal behavior. Now, we don't know how much money it is or anything like that. They write, finally, the government has obtained records showing that in at least one instance, a young woman reported to law enforcement criminal behavior by the defendant. So the defendant made of some kind of report to the law enforcement. Um, Evidence supporting this allegation consists of police records documenting criminal allegations and bank records documenting the ensuing payoff. So R. Kelly was paying this woman off to not testify. Now, do you think she made a mistake taking it? Yes, I do believe it is a mistake. But since she got paid off, and now that I do believe the money has ran out or something, so what difference does it make now? They also accused the singer of hiding hundreds of thousands in music royalties. They believe he redirected his payments to a childhood friend's bank account. So now you got this royalties that he supposedly have, but who knows? Um, of course, they believe he redirected his payment to a childhood friend's bank account, but who is R. Kelly's childhood friend? We don't know. The prosecutors said in court the defendant's contention that he has almost no financial resources is also misleading. So now they're saying that he's misleading about his royalties and, of course, the money. They continue. In fact, the defendant continues to receive hundreds of thousands of dollars in connection with royalties. He is owed for his music. The government's investigation has revealed that earlier this year, the defendant redirected those royalties to the bank account of a childhood friend, regardless of where those funds are being held. However, they belong to the defendant, and at any time the defendant can redirect those funds and future royalty proceeds earned to an account in his name. So, of course, they're going to continue about this. The defendant continues to receive hundreds of thousands of dollars in connection with royalties. Um, The government's investigation has revealed that earlier this year, the defendant redirected those royalties to the bank account of a childhood friend. And I wish we know who the childhood friend was, because, who else would have grew up with R. Kelly uh, all these years? Prosecutors used this information in court to shut down Kelly's attempt to be released from jail. Kelly argued for release and used his two girlfriends in his argument. At a hearing, the judge sided with prosecutors and denied his release. So R. Kelly thought he was slick. He thought he could use Azriel Clary and Joycelyn Savage as an excuse to get out of jail. Well, it wasn't working, so the judge denied his release, and of course, the judge has sided with the prosecutors. Kelly has been locked up in Chicago's downtown Metropolitan Correctional Center after he was arrested by Homeland Security agents and NYPD detectives. So, R. Kelly's been locked up all this time and he's not going anywhere. Where's he going to go? He can't go nowhere now that he's still in jail. The R&B star is facing a maximum prison sentence of 195 years in Chicago for alleged crimes against 10 different victims. His lawyer has been trying to get him out on bond, but has not been successful. Well, of course it hasn't been successful. And if Steve Greenberg would shut his trap and stay out of it, I really don't care if he's R. Kelly's lawyer, but still, the R&B singer is facing a maximum prison sentence of 195 years in Chicago for alleged crimes against 10 different women. So where's R. Kelly going to go? Nowhere. He argued Kelly was not a flight risk and promised his client would not talk to young girls while out. He also promised to wear a GPS monitoring device. The judge wasn't swayed. Nope, the judge, you can't. No matter how much you try to sway the judge, they cannot be swayed at all, really. Of course, Steve Greenberg argued that R. Kelly was not a flight risk. Well, of course not now, because he turned over his passport to the judge and promised his client would not talk to young girls while out. He also promised to wear GPS monitoring. Well, of course, that's not happening anytime soon, because once the judge says you're in jail, you stay in jail. There's no ifs and buts about it either. Kelly has even complained about being placed in solitary confinement and not being able to buy snacks. Prosecutors trashed the singer, saying he was never put in solitary and he had refused to pick a cellmate. So R. Kelly lied about being in a solitary confinement, and he wasn't allowed to buy snacks. But of course, the prosecutors trashed the singer, saying he was never put in solitary. And of course, he had refused to pick a cellmate. So R. Kelly did lie. And you can never trust R. Kelly, because he's a liar and a manipulator. And you know, once this trial goes forward, there's no turning back from it whatsoever. Leave your comments below. I am out.